Hello and welcome to the Magic Online Championships. I'm Randy Buehler. I'm here with Luis Scott Vargas. We got Brian David Marshall in the red zone, and we are ready for round number 7, the last round of day 1. We're going to be watching Lars Dom and Hannes Kerem. There you get a good look at Hannes. Hannes is playing an Affinity deck. He has put up a 4-2 record so far today. His opponent, Lars Dom, on the Melira pod matchup, and he is 5-1 so far. The winner of this match will definitely be in position to make top 4 overnight. What should we be looking for here, Luis?
I mean, the way this match normally hinges on how good Melira's draw is, because Affinity, it has a lot of different ways to get to the same place, and they all pretty much end up killing you around turn 4 to 5. Sometimes turn 3 if it has a really, really good draw, but around turn 4 to 5. The real question is Melira going to, assemble its combo by then, or is it going to be able to pot out a quick Pride Mage or Orzhov Pontiff?
Lars is going to be assembling that combo off 5 cards.
Well, he actually does have one of the better cards in the matchup, though, in his hand. Linvala, Keeper of Silence, is very good against some of the Affinity draws. If Hannes has a hand that crutches too much on Steel Overseer or Arcbound Ravager, Linvala is very good. It stops both those cards from really doing a ton. Of course, if Hannes draws one of his colored sources and casts that Galvanic Blast, then it's a slightly different story. But this is the sort of hand where Hannes could not draw a colored source and Lars could play a turn 3 Linvala and be in fairly good shape.
Does he have the mana for the Linvala? He does.
Well, he drew a Revlork, which was not not the best draw there.
Sure. Yeah, he's basically nothing he can do on his 3rd turn.
Yeah, he's going to pass now. Hannes is going to play an Arcbound Ravager and then
go Glimmer Void off the top for Hannes Kerem. That turns on his colored spells. That turns on Thoughtcast. That turns on Galvanic Blast, crucially.
I mean, I imagine that the play is still just play a Ravager this turn, because it's not like, Lars can't court anything out in a turn.
Do you give any thought to Galvanic Blasting the Bird of Paradise against an opponent that double mulliganed?
I'd be surprised if that was the right play. Because what could he have in his hand that he couldn't play? I guess he could have a Murderous Redcap. That is something you'd worry about, and could have the Linvala. So, but if he has the Linvala, I mean, not that
then you're going to want the blast.
Yeah,
for
not
Linvala.
that Hannes is really thinking about the one Linvala, but you're trying to narrow it down. He doesn't have Pod in hand. He could have a Chord of Calling, and maybe blasting the bird delays that. But a Chord for 1 next turn.
Yeah, it doesn't do much.
That's not a big threat either.
So you think it's just land, tap both my lands for Ravager?
Yeah, I that's my guess. And if you're going to play a land, I think playing the Glimmer Void is better. It looks like he is just going to Galvanic Blast the birds, though, which honestly is better for Lars. I mean, it sucks to get your bird killed and, your hand is expensive. But if Hannes doesn't do that, and you play the Linvala and you get Linvala blasted, that does end up being worse for you.
Yes.
One reason for Hannes to play this way also, though, is that now he gets to cast a red spell this turn and a blue spell next turn. If he casts Ravager, he can't cast both the red and the blue spell next turn. But he's not under a ton of pressure. Lars isn't really doing anything, so I don't think he needs to dump his hand anytime soon.
All right, Lars cracks a fetch land on his end step, gets a Godless Shrine. Now he's going to play fetch land and ship the turn back. We know he does, in fact, have a 4th land and that Linvala. Hannes has to decide what he wants to do. He's going to go Ravager, and now this Thoughtcast is just 1 mana, right?
Yep. And he even drew a Cranial Plating. Yeah, Cranial Plating makes Linvala not very useful. Without the plating, Linvala would actually be pretty good at stopping Hannes' threats. But
Did he draw another Galvanic
Blast? Yeah, this game is not very close to being close.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, Hannes is pretty close to just killing Lars and killing Linvala. It's all going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, the Thoughtcast was kind of perfect. Between his draw phase and his Thoughtcast, picking up both Cranial Plating and Galvanic Blast. Could not have asked for 2 better cards there.
Yeah, those are probably the literal 2 best cards to draw. I mean, Blast is very good in this matchup already, and then Plating is what makes it your kill condition just go much, much faster.
Yeah, I mean, the deck is basically a giant pile of artifacts, and then Ravager and Cranial Plating are really the ones that pay you off for having them all.
And Cranial Plating is generally much stronger than the Ravager, just because it does what Ravager does on all your creatures without having to actually sacrifice anything.
Sure.
So,
Lars plays Linvala. He's probably feeling like, well, this at least does a little something. His opponent chose not to respond with Ravager, though, so...
Hannes just drew the most played Born of the God cards at the Pro Tour Born of the Gods. That was a
Springleaf Drum.
Springleaf Drum, yeah.
Funny. So down goes Linvala. What's the attack for here? He can go Cranial Plating and equip.
Yeah, he could play Drum, but that does cost him 1 point of damage because he has to tap either Signal Pest or Memnite, which attack for 2. But it does get you one back on the plating and leaves a Springleaf Drum in play. But
This is 6, 7, 8, 9.
looks like it's just almost lethal.
Right. Do you just eat 2?
Well,
Do you have 2 lands to eat with Ravager? For
yeah,
lethal?
that doesn't pump anything up.
Oh, right, it doesn't, because then the plating goes down,
Yeah.
of course.
But I mean, there's no way Lars is getting out of this. He's not even remotely close to comboing, and he has to stop a million different threats. So
There you go. Hannes
was-
Kerem wins game
it was
1.
a quick and brutal game 1.
They usually are when Affinity wins.
Yeah, Affinity tends to win pretty quickly. It does not fare as well in a long game.
So these guys will go sort out their sideboard.
And without that Kataki, I mean, Lars is not quite as well stocked as some Melira lists. He gets to put in Slaughter Pact. He gets to put in Harmonic Sliver, and he gets to put in some Dismembers. That's about it. I mean, it's not a ton. Granted, you don't generally side a ton against Affinity anyway, just because the way your deck is built in game 1, you're already pretty solid. But mostly, he has to hope he doesn't start with 5 cards in his hand.
So you felt pretty good about being on the pod side of this matchup, though, in Richmond.
Yeah, I was happy doing that. I mean, if you have a turn 1 bird, which you do, more games than you don't, I feel like you outpace them most of the time. And just because your combo means they can almost kill you, but you don't actually have to kill all their threats. Affinity is very resilient against removal, but Pod doesn't have to win that way. Pod also gets to play that way in some draws. You get to get out a red cap, get out a Harmonic Sliver.
Oh, nice. So here's the pod deck sideboard. You see anything surprising to you here? Chords coming out?
No, this isn't too surprising. I ended up trimming down to 1 Voice of Resurgence. That I think is one of the weaker cards in this particular matchup. Like cutting 2 of the voices is what I ended up doing in Richmond, just because actually I only played 2, and I would cut down to 1 because Voice is really not that strong against Affinity. It doesn't really play the kind of game you want.
He does not have Slaughter Pact in his list right now.
Interesting. Yeah, it looks like he's keeping the sideboard. I like Slaughter Pact. I mean, it kills a Nexus or a Ravager when they try to randomly lethal you.
Yeah, he seems to agree with you taking out the 1 voice.
Yeah, I would actually just probably cut 2 or maybe even all the voices. Like I don't think it's unreasonable to do that.
Well, he submitted.
All right. Yeah, Slaughter Pact is a card I generally like to have. And it looks like a solid hand, but nothing too exciting. Abrupt Decay into Kitchen Finks is not really the way you want to start, because Kitchen Finks you play just, because it helps you combo off, but it honestly doesn't really block against Affinity all that well. They have a lot of flyers. They don't really care about random 3/2 ground guys.
So Hannes is thinking about whether to mulligan?
That's what it looks like, and Hannes' opening hand, from the brief glimpse we got, looks like it might have been a 1-lander.
Yeah, it is. 1 land with a drum.
But it does have a drum and a 0-drop, so I mean,
it's kind of like 2 land.
Yeah, Lars could make a real good move here. He could just Abrupt Decay like the Springleaf Drum, but that's a pretty speculative move. Like, there's a lot of ways that does not work out. So
yeah, Springleaf Drum Ornithopter. That is the play.
if Hannes didn't draw Galvanic Blast there, I don't think he would have played the Ornithopter. But now he actually has a reason to play it. You generally don't want to play it if you're not going to do anything with it that turn, because it just exposes it to removal. But given that you have a blast, you might want to blast something at a turn. And since Marshall's not here, I can't tease him about blasting to the face.
Fetch land goes and gets Godless Shrine for Lars. His untaps for his 2nd turn now.
And so if Lars doesn't have a play, it looks like he has Dismember now too. So he actually legitimately could Abrupt Decay something here. Mostly likely the drum if he's going to. But again, that's a really tough play to make. Yeah, if you had Telepathy and you could see your opponent's hand, you probably would.
Right.
But I don't think...
Yeah, if he's got a 2nd land, then
what did you just
terrible.
do? Yeah, like it's like in Limited if you have Befoul or some other card that kills a creature or a land.
Right.
If you're ever Stone Raining your opponent, you're just getting greedy. You should just not do that.
Sometimes it works.
It works sometimes, but the times it
no, I agree with you.
The times it doesn't is just like you realize that you're just trying to randomly gamble for no reason.
Yeah, no, you're just rolling like a d6 and you win the game on a 1.
Yeah.
Echo on a Critian. That's the only time it's correct.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
In Saga specifically, where Befoul was a common there, then killing an Echo creature was obviously fine. Wow.
So here's Dismember.
So it looks like Dismember is kind of doing the same thing, but I do kind of like it a little more than Decay, because Abrupt Decay
does more.
Yeah, and Abrupt Decay is a lot more versatile. Like, it can kill cranial plating and whatnot. And Hannes just didn't do anything.
Wow.
So it looks like
now you can Abrupt Decay the drum, right?
Well, you can't activate it. I actually like just playing the Finks here and then just hoping to draw a land and then potting.
Okay.
Just getting something going. If you do that, then you're just going to win the game very easily. If you draw a land and Hannes doesn't, then the game becomes almost unreachable.
Hannes draws a Vault Scourge.
But he can't even play Thoughtcast or anything. He just has to pass the turn back. And Galvanic Blast and the Finks very clearly doesn't do much.
Lars did draw a land.
Yes, Lars is in pretty good shape here. I think his play is like hit next and then pot away Finks for red cap, kill the Vault Scourge.
Sure.
And just end up in a real good spot. Probably just get a basic forest even.
Yeah, no reason to pay two life here.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with pot, and fetching basics is definitely part of it.
Mm-hmm. So he's going to pay 2 life, so using the Phyrexian mana part of Birthing Pod.
He's going to ping 4, getting 2 back off the Finks.
Right. Sacks the Finks. He can go he goes to get a 4 from his deck, plus the Finks comes back. Gains a couple life back there.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it
And
wasn't Murderous
as
Red
you
Cap.
predicted, Murderous Red Cap, another persist creature, and enough damage right now to pick off that Vault Scourge. Once again, trying to strand the Springleaf Drum. Hannes is going to respond with a Galvanic Blast to kill the back half of that Kitchen Finks.
Yeah, I guess he's more worried about what 4-drop that Lars could get. But now drawing a Memnite is drawing, it's drawing like a Lotus Petal, because you can pot away the red cap. It comes back. It kills. It targets the Ravager potentially, and then gets a 5-drop, which is potentially Archangel, or you could also get a Revel Arc here.
All right, so Memnite, solid draw from Hannes.
It was a good draw, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I mean, Lars still has that Abrupt Decay. He can pot away the red cap, get Archangel of Thune. The red cap forces the Ravager to sack to eat the Memnite, or the drum, I suppose, but probably the Memnite, and then gets Abrupt Decayed. And now you have next turn, play Voice Sack it, get Spike Feeder, you can combo off that way.
You just want to see the Archangel combo, don't you?
Well, I also think it's actually the right combo to go for here.
I agree with
since
you.
you get one of the pieces for
It's
free.
easier. I mean, it's 2 cards. The Melira combo, I mean, the namesake combo requires 3 different cards in play, and that one's only 2.
Yeah. So I think Lars, again, he's just like the last time we watched him play. He's in a spot where he has a lot of different ways where he can win this game. And I think, that again, almost every decision or every decision tree he goes down does end up with him winning. He's got too many resources, and Hannes is just too far behind.
Step 1 was attack with Murderous Red Cap. I think if Ravager wanted to step in front of Red Cap,
yeah,
Lars was okay with that.
That would be acceptable.
Okay, here's Voice of Resurgence.
So
Pod sacking. He's got to be Red Cap, right? No, he sacks the Voice.
So now you can get
get a 3.
You can get a Pontiff, or you can get a Harmonic Sliver, and either one of them destroy something. Probably Harmonic Sliver.
Yeah, Harmonic Sliver.
I kind of like just killing the drum here, actually. Seems like that, makes it so Hannes really can't do that much.
So many different lines with the Birthing Pod deck.
Yeah, I mean, this puts him in a really good spot. I probably would have just gotten Archangel and then Abrupt Decayed, but this works too. I mean, what is Hannes going to do? Play another 1/1?
All right, Hannes. He's got an Overseer, a second Ravager, a Thoughtcast, and a Slaughter Pact.
And Lars even has a 3/3 voice token, so there's no profitable attack.
Mm-hmm.
Hannes can attack with the Ravager and make it a 4/4 off sacking another Ravager, but that does not seem like it's all that effective. Hannes is actually getting to the point where he can cord into something too. I wonder if he could go off with Melira here. Actually, he's got a 2/2 red cap, so he can actually pod the elemental token into a Viscera Seer, cord into Melira, and then go off. So
wow.
So Lars also wins this way because he has the Cord of Calling in his hand.
Is that the red cap barking?
Yeah, there's a Murderous Red Cap barking right outside the door, apparently. So even though I would have probably gone for the Archangel combo this game, this also works fine. Looks like he's going to...
We said Bird?
Well, he played Bird, get Melira, and then Cord for Seer.
Yeah, Cord for Seer is easier than the other way around.
Yeah, 6 one way, half dozen the other, and then followed by Infinite. My only hope is that Hannes doesn't make Lars go through the entire combo.
Yes.
But he should, but technically,
17 minutes on the clock, whatever.
You know, honestly, if I'm in Honda's spot, I also concede there. I don't make my opponents go through the combos. Life's too short. Like at the end of it, like you are having to live these moments.
All right, I don't know what this says about me, but I sometimes make my opponent go through the combo, but it's only when they've done something particularly annoying.
But what if they've put out snacks outside the room?
Yeah.
No, well then I'm more likely to concede, I guess.
That just makes you human.
Okay. The time when I'll make my opponent play out is like if they're obviously multi-queuing and like they've taken up 20 minutes and the clock is starting to be relevant. I don't know. Sometimes.
Yeah, but when there's 22 minutes left and my opponent casts his Splinter Twin, it's like, all right, we're going to go to game 2.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if these guys are going to do any additional sideboarding, or it looks like they are looking at their sideboarding. I cannot get into the game. I'm getting the sideboarding.
You would appear that they are still. So we're being told we're being told that the game's running, but
meanwhile we're listening to Brian Kibler's iPod. And
if BDM, if you can hop in the
yeah,
game,
Brian,
we'll be able to hijack your.
My computer will not pull this game up for some reason.
I got it.
So the red zone computer is going to have the rest of this. Is going to have game 3 for this.
Yeah, there's a Mem Knight and a Vault Scourge in play off of one land. There's a Bird of Paradise in play for Lars Dom off of Temple Garden. There you go. You get a look. Second land for Hannes Kerem.
So Lars does have the turn 1 bird, which is pretty crucial here, but without seeing his hand, it's going to be tough because he's got a ton of options. This is actually really very bad for Hannes. Hannes's turn 3 play is activate Nexus, attack for 3, which is not the sign of a great draw. And in fact,
did he activate the wrong Nexus?
Or his turn 2 play rather. It looks like he activated the Summoning Sick Nexus. That is a beating.
He can't even tap that for mana now.
No, he's going to be done. So Lars is at essentially +1 life. I mean, if you want to imagine what would have happened.
Is that our first misclick on the big board?
Potentially. It looks like Randy was able to get into the game though. So
okay.
Yeah,
so
we can switch back to the one with life totals and faces.
And Lars has the turn 2 Finks into Hannes's turn 2 attack with Nexus, but Hannes just drew a Glimmer Void. Glimmer Void has to be a good draw for him. He's got to have some colored spells in hand. I mean, I can't imagine what else he could have in hand if it's not that. Well, Lars has a classic, just great hand. Turn of Finks into Pod here.
Jeez. Pod and Accord.
Yeah.
So what's the line? Pod Finks into Linvala?
I would probably just get Red Cap and kill the Vault Scourge. I think it's pretty close, but just getting your Linvala Galvanic Blast is pretty annoying. Though if Hannes had a Galvanic Blast, he's really likely to have just cast it on the bird.
Oh, he's going to go Spellskite.
And then he's going to play Noble and play a tapped land. I guess he's not under any pressure, but Spellskite doesn't really do much. I guess it
kind of turns off Ravager.
Yeah, and it makes Galvanic Blast not good, but Galvanic Blast still kills something, and Ravager wasn't sacrificing things anytime soon.
Fair. It does mean Galvanic Blast wouldn't be able to kill Linvala.
Yeah. Hannes could have a Whip Flare in hand, though. His draw was slow enough that Hannes must have mulliganed then. His hand does not have enough cards in it, assuming, so. Yeah, so turn 4.
It's only 9 cards.
So he looks like he mulliganed to 5 then. Or no, just mulligan once.
Yeah, mulligan once. He's on the play, so.
Yeah, I mean, Hannes does have the Galvanic Blast, so getting Linvala would not have worked out so well.
It will now, though.
Yeah, now it'll work out better, but it still doesn't really play around Cranial Plating.
Sure.
I think at this point, Lars actually looks like he's just going to end of turn. He can just Chord for Viscerous here, then untap and pod away one of his 1-drops and just Melira.
Got it. So he can get infinite life off of the Finks?
Yeah, he can just gain infinite life off Finks, and Hannes is tapped out now, so yeah, it looks like Lars...
No Galvanic Blast to bust this up.
And it's not like it would have stopped it anyway because of the Spellskite. So...
Yep, there's Visara Seer. Visara Seer lets him sacrifice any of his creatures. Also, oh, by the way, Scry 1.
Yes.
He's now going to activate the Birthing Pod, sacrificing a Noble Hierarch. He'll go and get Melira. Here you get to see the signature combo. Melira says creatures cannot have -1/-1 counters on them. That means that if you've got a persist creature like this Kitchen Finks, it just keeps coming back and coming back and coming back. It never gets the -1/-1 counter. That's supposed to mean it only happens twice. Lars can loop through this as many times as he wants and gain an arbitrarily large amount of life. He's also scrying every time through here. So what he'll probably do is put like a Murderous Red Cap on top of his deck.
That's the classic one.
So that next turn he can just loop with the Red Cap and actually kill Hannes. I don't know that Hannes has any way he can possibly get out of this at this point, right? It's just a matter of Lars going through the motions.
Hannes does have an Inkmoth Nexus in play, which can technically
can poison him?
Kill Lars. He has to kill the Melira.
Yeah, well, you can't poison your opponent when they have Melira. It actually does more than just enable the combo. The no poison counters comes up
what he has to do is kill the Spellskite, then kill the Melira, then poison Lars for 10, and Lars is just going to cast a Murderous Red Cap next turn.
Yeah, he needs to do all this before next turn.
And Lars also has a Birthing Pod in play, so yeah, it's not going to happen. Hannes is a couple steps short. I mean, he can kill the Spellskite, and if he drew a Galvanic Blast, he could also kill Melira, but he's not going to be able to do both and also deal 10 poison.
Yeah,
Since right now he can deal 1 poison, maybe 2 if he pumps.
Yeah, but it's game 3. Hannes has just hit F6, right? He's got no reason to concede. I don't know that I would concede here either.
No, I don't think I would either, but it is pretty much a foregone conclusion. I mean, Lars could mess up in some way. So.
Right. So we are in round 7 of Modern. This is the last round we're going to be playing today. Tomorrow we have 7 more rounds. We'll get started at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So we're in San Francisco, so we'll be starting up at 10 a.m. It's going to be 3 rounds of Booster Draft, Born of the Gods, Theros Booster Draft starting off, followed up by 4 rounds of Standard in the afternoon. The top 4 players at that point all come back on Sunday. And so it's single elim for the top 4 with their standard decks. They don't get to change up. They get to play whatever standard decks they're playing tomorrow, which they actually submitted 2 days ago.
Yeah, they submitted on Wednesday. So
yeah, and so were you telling me Lars Dom found out like an hour before the deadline and just submitted whatever he happened to have on his account?
It was actually
it was Lars you told that story about, right?
Yes, it was. It was actually crazier than that because he was he lives in Thailand.
Okay.
So he's coming from Thailand. Apparently, his visa application didn't go through.
Oh, jeez.
He's at the airport. They're telling him that he doesn't have, he hasn't gotten the confirmation yet, and they're like, well, they're not going to let you into the States. He's like, well, just his first leg of the flight was into Seoul, Korea.
Okay.
He's like, just fly me to Korea, and I'll figure it out there.
Wow.
He goes there. He's like emailing them. He's able to email them, get a 2-hour turnaround time.
Jeez.
While he's checking his email, not sure if he's going to be allowed in the country. He checks his spam filter just to make sure. Finds a bunch of emails from Wizards. One of them says you have to submit your decks by Wednesday. This is Wednesday. He's about to get on an international flight. He's using airport Wi-Fi on his laptop. It's just like, all right, I'm just going to submit whatever I've got on my account. These aren't exactly the decks I want to play, but whatever, it's close enough.
Wow.
so and now he's 6-1. I mean,
yeah, he's
he wins
6-1. He's in first place. He's either tied for first overnight or possibly in first place all by himself. Tomáš Klid is the only guy who can even tie him at 6-1.
Yeah, it's just going to depend on whether Ansi Akio or Tomáš Klid wins their match.
Yep. Crazy. So he's up to 60. He's continuing to scry. I haven't really been paying attention to whether he's pushing cards to the bottom or whether he's found the card that he wants.
It doesn't really matter, right? Because
he said go.
He's going to keep the right card. So actually 60. So at dinner yesterday, I was talking to Lars, and we were asking, we were saying, like, how much do you usually go for?
Right.
And I say I usually get to around, like, 50 or 60. He's like, yeah, same. So there we go, 60.
Fair enough.
So it looks like Hannes actually drew the card he needed to stop Lars
Slaughter
from
Pact?
winning this turn. Yeah, he can Galvanic Blast and then Slaughter Pact to kill Melira and Spellskite. But Lars still is at 60 life and has a Birthing Pod out. And if Hannes does that, Lars might just gain another 40 life just to make sure. Like, you don't want to end up, like, dying because of that.
Well, but I mean, if Hannes is going to win this game, it's going to be with poison damage.
That is most likely, but technically, if both those things die and Hannes gets a cranial plating, he can do like 15 damage a turn.
Sure, but I mean, the fact that Inkmoth damage has infect is the most likely way for Hannes to come back.
Yes, I would agree. And I think it's going to be tough because Lars, it's not like Lars has no cards in hand. Lars has an active Birthing Pod in play and a Revelark that he can just cast next turn. He can cast Revelark and get back Melira and Spellskite. In fact, he can get back both. So being able to do that means that next turn, I think he just untaps, and he could, at this point, even scry a land on the top. If he doesn't already have one, he can just do a couple more scries in order to figure out where he wants to be.
You could also see the game end if Springleaf Drum goes away then Hannes has no way to pay for the pact.
Well, he's got a Glimmer Void. Oh, so
Oh, is there a Glimmer Void in there too?
I was just thinking. I was like,
Oh,
can
that
he kill
would've
the
been fun.
Springleaf Drum?
Okay, Glimmer Void will
Forcing
pay for the
people
pact.
to not be able to pay for packs is like truly one of the best things.
It's a fun way to win.
I mean, I've told the story a million times at this point, but when Conley played in Pro Tour Philadelphia, his Hive Mind opponent cast Hive Mind, cast Pack the Titan, and Conley paid with Seething Song because he was playing Storm, and then the Hive Mind guy then died.
That's awesome. All right, so as a response to Slaughter Pact targeting Melira, looks like all Lars is going to do is sack the Melira to scry off the Seer.
So now he doesn't have to pay for the pact, right?
He does not have to pay for the pack anymore, but it looks like Lars is not too worried about that. I think I
Right.
would have scryed until I could find an untapped land and just played Revelark, but honestly, if he just birthing pods away stuff, he's still going to be in okay shape this game. So Lars looks a little unhappy, but I think that might also be his base luck. So his terribly absurd win percentage is actually going to go up a little bit. I mean, if he has a 69% win percentage and he went 6-1,
Can he get over 70 this weekend? Probably not.
no, not with this.
No.
Is he going to go home? Go back to his hotel room and play 700 matches tonight?
Maybe.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, so Birthing Pod gets activated, sacrificing the Kitchen Finks. Finks comes back, of course. Pod gets to go get a 4. What do you get here?
My guess is you get Murderous Redcap. You could also get Linvala because it's just a solid blocker and it stops any top deck Ravagers. But yeah, Redcap just provides more ammunition for your pod, so next turn you can pod again. He also has a second pod in hand, so Lars might want to play a second pod, next turn activate 2 pods. I mean, he's got, again, in what seems like our refrain, he's got a lot of ways to win this game. He's got a lot of different options. He's got a lot of different birthing pods.
Yeah, Hannes has drawn spectacularly well, just to not be dead yet.
Yeah, and I don't think Hannes is going to live what looks like 5 more turns to poison Lars' death. Actually, no, it's only
cranial
4.
plating.
It's only 4 because he's got 2 other Nexuses in play. So he can pump Inkmoth Nexus twice. He can make it a 3/3.
Funny.
But next turn,
And he is using exactly that pump ability from the Blink Moth. Target Blink Moth creature, and the Ink Moth is in fact a Blink Moth creature.
yep.
So 3 poison.
So next turn, if Lars plays Revelark and sacks it, he just gets back Spellskite Melira, and then he just wins.
Do you have enough mana to do all that?
And yeah, it only costs 5 because he can just sack it to Viscera Seer.
Sure.
And that should be pretty quick. So it looks like he's Viscera Searing, and then you get Spellskite back, though. If Hannes had a removal spell, he'd have to use it in response. Hannes doesn't, so...
Yep, those creatures come straight back to the graveyard. Straight from the graveyard into play. He does, in fact, choose Spellskite and Melira.
And Hannes walked over and shook Lars' hand, so...
Yep, and there's the concession. So Lars Dom, 6-1, sitting in first place overnight. There you get a good look at
Well,
him.
tied for first place.
Yeah, depending if Tomash...
I was about to ask you
yeah.
if you had any updates for us, Brian.
I do. Tomash Glid has defeated Ansi Alkio
All right.
2-1, so he is also sitting at 6-1 at the end of day 1.
Okay. Very nice. So yeah, Tomash and Lars then sitting at 6-1. In terms of the 12 pointers who could get to 15, Hannes lost. Ansi lost. What about Andre Strasky and Rune Anderson?
Well, they're going right now in game 3. If we want to
Oh,
cut to that,
sweet.
I have that on my screen.
I think I can pull it up too.
There we are. There's a lot of merfolk in play.
Yes.
and some C's have been spread.
Yeah, Andre is currently attacking with, well, it looks like he's got tapped Regery, Adept, and Curse Catcher, and Mutavault.
For 14 points of damage.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's 13 life there for Runa.
Yeah,
So-
we're in Andre's attack phase, according to, if I'm reading the zones right.
So Runa's going to have to use an Angel's Grace to stay alive this turn and then untap and go off next turn.
That sounds about right. He's going to have to go off through
2 curse catchers.
Yeah, 2 Curse Catchers. Looks like Vile put Lord of Atlantis into play here to get this team pumped up to lethal.
Well, the 2 Curse Catchers is doable as long as Runa has another land. And Runa does have 5 cards in hand, so
Yeah, Lotus Bloom, couple of Pentat Prisms.
if he's tapping blue
Is this
mana, that's not great for him, though.
Right.
Could it be a does he have play rapid hybridization or?
No,
think
I
so.
don't think so. No, he's got...
Yeah, he's getting a white off the Pentat Prism
so he's
for
going to
Angel's
cast
Grace.
Angel's Grace off that.
All right, so he doesn't die this turn.
And next turn, he's got to have land to pay for the second Curse Catcher.
Yeah, so he goes to 1. Oh, does he have another Lotus Bloom over here?
Yeah, not this turn.
Okay.
All right. So if he has land Angel's Grace ad nauseum, then he's got it. Otherwise, assuming that Andre doesn't have another spell in hand, but with only 1 mana up, it really can only be Spell Piercer, something along those lines.
And he only has the 1 card in hand.
Yeah.
I feel like we've said a lot of ifs about Runa's hands when we've talked about
Temple's
well,
bad news. He could have a Simian Spirit Guide still. Well, that is this deck, right? It is.
Yeah.
I mean, given that it has Angel's Grace, there's almost no sequence of plays that can kill it if it has like Angel's Grace into Angel's Grace into Angel's Grace into win. Like if
Right.
it just has a bunch of Angel's Graces, that's not generally what happens. But technically, he could just live for 3 more turns. So Runa's going to need Angel's Grace, Simian Spirit Guide ad nauseum in his hand, and somehow to not have 1 last turn, which does not seem incredibly likely.
Well, something got remanded at some
He
point.
put a card on top of his library. Oh,
There's
Phyrexian.
Phyrexian Unlife.
Unlife is a good. Unlife does buy him another turn, so you don't lose to having 0 left life. So if 1 attack takes you to -50, it doesn't matter because it's all in the same attack.
Right.
And then the things start having
Yeah,
infect.
after you go to 0, everything gets infect.
Ah.
So it buys you a full turn unless Andre can like violin a Cunning Spark Mage or something. I
Yeah,
don't
that
think-
buys a turn and it facilitates the ad nauseum combo.
Yeah. So
Yeah, this attack will just send Rune negative. He's at -15, but Phyrexian Unlife is keeping him alive.
Yeah, Rune could definitely win this game if he has an ad nauseum and Andre doesn't have a way to stop it. Then that's actually a game. And if Lotus Bloom is coming out here, then he might actually have enough mana to like Mystical Teachings for it or something along those lines.
Yeah, here is the second Lotus Bloom coming out.
2 cards in hand for Andre.
I mean, they could be permission-y, right? He's got a remand in his graveyard. There could be more where that came from.
So Rune, he just needs to cast Melira, and then all of Andre's creatures will lose infect, and then that's the lock.
Is Melira Phyrexian Unlife actually a lock? I've seen Phyrexian Unlife in the Enduring Ideal deck with Form of the Dragon.
Yeah.
That's pretty good because the Form of the Dragon sends you back up above 0 every
Yeah.
turn.
That's kind of the lock too.
Yeah, it's quite the lock.
All right, show us the ad nauseum.
I mean, he can't have it. I mean, if he had it, I think if he has something, he has Mystical Teachings here.
Well, but I mean, he didn't have Phyrexian Unlife until now. This is actually the first turn he needs to have it.
Yep.
Sacks Lotus Bloom for black. That's ad nauseum mana.
There aren't.
Does it resolve?
There's
It's on
not
the
a ton of
stack.
spells that can stop it here. I mean,
I mean,
I guess Remand really does, but Spell Pierce
Yeah.
does not stop this,
right. Remand. He actually has just enough mana to replay it if it gets remanded.
except for the Curse Catchers, which.
Oh, except for the Curse Catchers. Check.
But Rune does have potentially a bunch of Simian Spirit Guides. He could always have Simian Spirit Guides. That's another feature of the deck.
So this is game 3.
I think this is the last match outstanding.
I mean,
So we're waiting for Andre. He is,
presumably this just ends the game.
if it resolves.
Yeah, there can't be too many. There's not too many things that can stop it. Like I said, I mean, Remand does, but
Well, what if you let this resolve and then can you remand the Lightning Storm somehow? No, because the Simian Spirit Guides mean the Curse Catchers are no longer relevant.
Well, Rune might not have enough lands to.
Okay, we're going.
We're going.
All right, ad nauseum's resolving.
How low can Runa go here?
He's just gonna draw them all anyway. But
You see his life ticking down, his
Yeah.
cards ticking away.
Rune might not have enough lands to double Lightning Storm, but presumably he might have like 1 Pact Negation or something left in his deck also.
Right. He has 46 cards in his hand.
No cards in his deck.
He's removing Simian Spirit Guides.
So, yeah, there's a Pact of Negation there. So,
Okay, yeah, with Pact of Negation. In
yeah,
his,
then that's got to be it.
wow. So Runa, looking good. -66, no problem. The Phyrexians say I only die to poison.
So
Lightning Storm, time to start discarding some lands.
so Runa ended up going. He ended up going 1-3 though with this deck. This
Is that right?
This would be his first win, I believe.
He's on 9 points.
Yeah, and he was 3-0
currently.
after the draft. So
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So this is the first win he's going to pick up with this deck.
well, he doesn't have to play it anymore. So there is that.
There's that.
Yeah, with the way the pairings went, this gets Runa to 4 and 3. It drops Andre Strasky to 4 and 3, which means that we have a whole bunch of people at 4 and 3, and then 2 folks at 6 and 1.
Yeah, so this is actually kind of weird. I mean, the 2 6-1s are going to play tomorrow, round 1. I would assume.
Yep.
And we've got a bunch of 4 and 3s and like a big scrum to try to break
yeah.
out of the pack.
Got to be feeling good if you're Lars or Tomasz.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not be? Yeah, you're ahead. of
2-game lead on third place.
You're 2 wins ahead of everyone else.
That is spectacular. Oh, I think there might be one match left. Vale versus Bruno.
Oh, it looks like there is a little bit more battling going on.
Yeah, there's one match left.
Are you going to see if you can get into that, Randy?
Yep.
While these lightning storms resolve.
Well, there's only one lightning storm.
Yeah.
It's just got a lot of tendrils. How many counters on the lightning storm now? Yeah, given that that pact of negation, I cannot imagine that there's anything that prevents lightning storm from dealing lethal, barring something very, very strange happening.
So there's no way for Andre to force him to draw a card.
That would be nice.
Curse catchers are just throwing themselves
Pay?
Into the lightning fire.
Exactly.
I mean, you got to go for it, even though the probability that it works is not very high. Willie tweeted that he saw enough Jund being featured that we were picking good feature matches.
Oh, that other match ended. This is now the last one.
Willie likes 3 things. He likes red, he likes black, and he likes green. He likes them all together.
So Valeria Villanueva won over Bruno Diaz.
Check.
Buenos Diaz in the other match.
Gets him to 3 and 4. Bruno will be 2-5 overnight.
Runas has not changed any of his targets for Lightning Storm. In case you're wondering.
That's a fairly wise move.
Yeah.
Can't imagine what it's like. I've never made it. You know, I've played in some of the Moxes, but I've never like won one or anything. So I can't imagine what it's like to be in kind of like a Pro Tour setting, but on Magic Online. You're like, he's doing the essentially like, dotting his I's and crossing his T's here, making sure, all right, the Lightning Storm's big enough, it's aimed at the right place, I've got lands, he's making sure everything's right. Whereas in live, in paper Magic, you're just like, Lightning Storm, dump, all these lands pointed at you.
Right.
There's no like, oops, I clicked a button, now I lose. Like, it is definitely something worth being careful about.
Right. Well, I mean, again, it was interesting hearing people talk at dinner about like which combo they're going to play based on what was the most clock efficient on Magic Online.
Yeah, Runa is 204, right? 203, 202.
Yeah, technically, he's got outs to not win via Lightning Storm.
Right.
There.
He's trying to be careful and not misclick away his combo. I don't know how often
Right.
people actually make him play this part out.
Lord of Atlantis is very dead.
Yeah. Lord of Atlantis takes 70 damage. Boom. He just added more to the stack. He's got a minute left.
Did he really?
This is actually kind of interesting. It's like, all right, are we clearing the stack now? And 24. All right.
24 charge counter seems good enough.
And
Right?
Yeah, with a minute left, I mean, how do you not just press OK? He just added more. Or no, that could have been
that can be.
Oh, they're
Andre,
fighting.
yeah,
Andre's fighting back.
and
Andre's
Runa's
adding
got a
lands.
minute left, so. Oh, this is kind of insane.
And that lightning storm damage would be infect damage.
Yeah, let's throw a Curse Catcher in. Make you spend a couple of seconds paying mana for the Curse Catcher.
Yeah.
Redirect, change the target.
I don't know about how I feel about activating Mutavaults here.
He is just playing for clock. How many things can I make you say okay to?
He's gonna get him under a minute, but I don't think he's gonna get him. Oh,
Activate Aether Vial.
I mean, if you spend a ton of time doing stuff, I guess this is one of the potential downfalls of it. But
It's got a Mutavault to activate, right?
yeah, he can activate it a few more times. I don't think it's going to work if Rune auto yields, but
then the risk of auto yielding is something
well, you can
weird
just
happens.
right click and auto yield on Mutavault, I guess. But
Even the dog is barking at Andre now. 47 seconds.
I think this is going to be fine. Let's see. Depends what the last card is, too.
Does he have a land left in his hand?
$38 seconds, 37 seconds.
All right, Runa has changed the target to Andre. 30 seconds. You got anything else to make me react to?
Nope.
No. Runa Anderson
Less than
wins.
half a minute.
29 seconds left on his clock, and the Lightning Storm combo deck gets the job done. Wow. All right, that was round 7. I think we've got Marshall Sutcliffe hanging out with Lars Dom, who 4-0'd Modern
Yeah,
and
he-
is 6-1 overnight, tied for first place, fully 2 matches ahead of the rest of the pack.
Yeah, he did a damn good job today.
Very nice. Marshall, save me from this.
Hey guys, Marshall Sutcliffe down here in the Future Match area. I've got Lars Dan with me here. Lars, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you're actually way ahead of the pack here. Randy was just saying you're a couple games ahead of everybody at X and 1.
Wow, that's a little bit surprising.
Now-
I'm pretty sure there's at least one at 5 and 2.
Now you had a heck of a trip getting in here. Tell us the story.
Yeah, while I'm coming from Thailand and I had to go through Seoul and then to America. And when I was in Thailand, the visa I had applied for, they asked me to show it for them, and I couldn't. And then they asked me to go to their office, the airline office, and print it from the internet. You can apparently retrieve the information. So I did that, and it didn't happen. I couldn't get it to retrieve my information and anything. And then I was like, oh God, what am I going to do here? I'm going to the States. I have my flight in 40 minutes or whatever, and I have to get going. So there was an urgent application. So I thought, okay, maybe I misremembered that I had actually applied for this. So I did that, told them I have a 7-hour layover in Seoul. I will fix things there. Just give me my boarding pass. Let me go to the Seoul, and then I will take it from there. So I did that. I arrived in Seoul, and I had not received any confirmation from my urgent application either. So I went back to the airline and asked, okay, might have a real problem here. And then they just told me, because you have the boarding passes already, you have to have the visa already. And that doesn't really make sense, because in Thailand, they obviously didn't think I had the visa, but now they thought I had it.
So now you've got your visa, and then you get another email, this time from Wizards.
Yeah, then I looked in my junk folder, looking through everything I had in my email account, and sitting in an internet cafe, and then I see I'd received 5 emails from Lee and asking me to submit which decks I was going to play at that day, Wednesday.
So this is Wednesday, and they were asking for your 2 constructed decks for the tournament here.
And I just had to delete all the other decks in my account, so I just had the 2 decks I wanted to play in the Standard and Modern. And my Standard deck is not very nice from that.
So
I had 30 minutes until my flight was taking off.
I can't imagine having sweat running down your face about this visa issue, finally getting that resolved. You're also flying internationally, which has a level of stress anyway. And then
I hadn't slept for 24 hours at that point. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do here? I might not even get into the US. But I went, and when I came to the immigration thing, they just said, oh, everything is fine. You could just go right through. And I was like, whew.
but they didn't mention your deck choice.
No, they had no Nothing to say about that, apparently.
Now, it looks like your Modern deck worked out very, very well for you. You had a successful day in Modern.
Yeah, it did. I went 4-0 with Melira pod. It was pretty good.
So perfection there, but you're not anticipating that for Standard, as the list isn't exactly fully fleshed out from how you wanted it.
No, definitely not. It's a little weird. It's like some of the sideboard cards, some of the main board cards, and I'm pretty sure they are just mixed up in ways they shouldn't be. Might not even be playing the exact things I want to be playing. Like, it was basically a testing object that had to become the real thing at a moment's notice. So,
But I was talking to you a minute ago, and you said you actually consider yourself a 40-card player anyway. You're a limited player at heart.
yeah, I never play constructed, unless it's Mux, actually.
So you only play constructed when it's the Mox and when you 4-0 with Modern.
Yeah, well, I have a pretty good record with the Melira pod deck. I became second in the Modern Mux last year. And yeah, I went something ridiculous with it as well, obviously, when you get to the finals and lose there.
Okay, Lars, well, you have a big day ahead of you, so I'm going to let you go. But he's going to come back tomorrow as our #1 seed and see if he can put together a run for the top 4. For Lars, I'm Marshall signing off from the tournament area.
I did not realize that Lars finished second in one Mox and then won a different one.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
That is crazy. Quite the player.
Well, that's how you get a 69% win percentage.
I guess so.
You get a lot of seconds and firsts.
I guess so. I do want to look at the standings overnight. So let's see where we're going to be sitting right now. There's Lars, and as we mentioned, Tomáš Glíd is tied with him at 6-1. And then look at the scrum. 6 players on 4 and 3, 5 players on 3 and 4. So basically 11 players within a half game of 500 overnight.
Yeah, and it's actually a clean cut in terms of pods, too. Pod 1 is 4-3, all the 4-3s are better, and pod 2 is all the 3-4s are better, or worse. And it's actually really rough because if one of the
for the draft tomorrow morning.
Yeah, one of the disadvantages to starting 3-4 is the 3-4 that 3-0s the pod in is 6-4 is just going to have much worse breakers than one of the 4-3s, any of the 4-3s that go 2-1, because they're in a pod with all players with worse records. So
good point.
I mean, obviously winning is good, but there tiebreakers, and especially in draft pods, do kind of separate the pack there. So besides the 2 6-1s, all the 4-3s are just hoping that round 2 they get to play against the 6-1s.
Well, they'll be paired against each other the first time, right?
Right. So the first round, all the 4-3s play each other because the 2 6-2s play each other.
Yeah.
But then the round 2, all the 4-3s that win really want to see a 6-1, now a 6-2, or a 7-1 sitting across from them. Because, again, tiebreakers are what's going to cut the last couple slots of the top 4 here. And getting paired up is the best way to have good tiebreakers.
What do you think the odds are of Lars and Tomáš making top 8 from here, or top 4?
It's tough because it really depends on what final record you need. Obviously, they're the ones in the best spot because even if they do badly, they're going to be playing against people who are winning. Mm-hmm. So they're by far the most likely to tiebreak into the top 4.
Okay.
But, I mean, they certainly don't have to do all that well tomorrow. I mean, they could probably, I would imagine that if they go 5-2, they're just a lock. If they go 4-3, they have a really good shot.
I think 4-3 looks like plenty from there.
Yeah, I would imagine that 4-3, for the 6-1s, going 4-3 is good enough.
Right.
Whereas for all the 4-3s, that they even if they go 5-1, they're or 5-2. If they go 6-1, they're not a lock. So, because not necessarily all the 10-4s will make it. It depends on how it ends up. It could be that is a lock. But
yeah, but the cut is at 4th. The top 4 are the ones who go to Sunday.
Right.
Seeding's not as relevant here. Magic Online will be rolling to see who plays first.
Yeah.
So it's not the case that, you have to play for the 1 seed. But then again, there's also no intentional draw. So they will be playing all of those matches all the way out to the wire. I mean, that's what Magic Online forces you to do. So that's the story here. Magic Online Championships, we got 7 rounds in the book. Mm-hmm. We're going to be coming back tomorrow for first it'll be a draft, then it'll be 4 rounds of standard. Schedule is up there. You see we've gone through Cube and Modern. That was the plan for today. 7 rounds tomorrow. There'll be draft followed by standard. That day 3, that Sunday final 4 will be standard decks, and it'll be the same standard decks that they played on Saturday. We got the prize schedule. I want to remind everybody what we're playing for because the size of this tournament this is a big game. I mean, it's $25,000 for first, but it's not just $25,000 for cash. It's also an invite to next year's Magic Online Championships, which, as you can see, is a minimum $4,000, and it's also an invite to the World Championships,
which is even, I think, even a higher prize because there you get to play against not only the best players in the world, you also have the potential of, getting auto platinum if you win that tournament. Like
Right.
there's a lot on the line there too. So
Yeah, they're similar in terms of prize money, right? I mean, many thousands of dollars just for last. It's a 24-person Worlds this year. But yeah, the pro points that are on the line are incredibly valuable in terms of just stringing together a Pro Tour career out of this.
Yeah, I mean, if Shahar wasn't already platinum, which he was and was going to be,
right.
he would have been auto platinum for a year and a half, almost 2 years, just by winning Worlds. Because
Right.
it just qualifies you for like the next until the next World Champion or the end of the next season. So it is a very big deal, and this is one of the ways to it. This is one of the harder ways to it, but there's no easy ways to the World Championship.
I mean, we've also, in terms of stringing together Magic Online excellence into a Pro Tour career, we've seen that done a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean that is a way to do it. I mean, Reed Duke
Reed
is
Duke
definitely
famously
a good example.
won this event, which is really the place where he burst onto the scene, and then got onto the Pro Tour, became a regular, had won bad Worlds, got back the next year, finished second at the most recent Worlds. He's not just that guy from the Magic Online Championships anymore. He's not just Reader Rabbit.
Nope.
And I mean, similarly, I remember when you busted onto the Pro Tour scene. I mean, lots of people were talking about, it's that guy from Magic Online. It's the guy who's been tearing up Magic Online.
I mean, you were doing commentary on my match at Nationals in 2006. That was the first tournament I did well at, the first big tournament.
Right.
And that was because of Magic Online. I mean,
right. It was like, who is this guy? Like, the people who play Magic Online know who he is. You're going to know who he is.
I was in the same clan as Paul Chian, who I won that Nationals. We got first and third, and that's part of the reason we did well. So.
Absolutely.
And you guys were playing a Magic Online deck?
Yeah, we were
playing.
We were playing Solar Flare with a Zombify, Compulsive Research, Angel of Despair, Yosai, Kakusho deck. It was an awesome deck, and
sounds like a cube deck.
yeah, it was a lot like a cube deck, and Magic Online is kind of what got us there, and I do credit it for a lot of helping me bridge the gap from just playing in PTQs to doing well at bigger events.
Well, while you're talking about just Mox competitors, last year's Mox, Sean McLaren was competing in that 16-person tournament, and this year is crowned a Pro Tour champion.
Yep. That's right. Most recent Pro Tour winner played in this event last year. So, we've got a fair note. You've got some familiar names in this top 8 to people who've just been watching Pro Tours. Anssi Alkio is in the scrum at 4-3, top 8 of the most recent Pro Tour. Seth Manfield stumbled a little bit today, only put up a 2-5. He's got a couple Grand Prix to his name.
Hannes Kerem is a world's top 4 competitor.
Exactly.
Absolutely. But yeah, my point being, I feel like you're going to know more of these names a year from now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Magic Online has just proven itself to be, that's the place where you go to get really good at Magic. I mean, it's one of the best, easiest ways to get the skill that you need to then succeed on the Pro Tour. All right. Well, that's day 1. We're going to be back at 10 a.m. local time tomorrow. It'll be a draft, and we'll be here. Louis Scott Vargas will be here. Brian David Marshall, Marshall Sutcliffe. All of us are going to be back. It should be lots more fun Magic. So, signing off for the Magic Online Championships. We will see you guys tomorrow.